Hello guys, I hope you are doing well. I am making this video after a very long time, and this time I promise you that you will get 4 videos in every week. New videos will come on Wednesday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So in this particular video, I am going to discuss monetary policy, which comes under economy section of your syllabus. This topic is very important as far as UPSC Civil Service preliminary examination is concerned, and this year prelims examination and also in 2019 prelims UPSC had asked many questions from this particular topic, and this topic has wide interrelation with other topics such as GDP, inflation, fiscal policy, external sector, etc. So I will try to cover all these aspects and make you understand the topic. At the end of this video, we will try to solve some UPSC's previous year questions. So do watch it till the end. I hope your all doubts will be cleared, and if you like the video, please do share with your fellow civil servant aspirant. So let's get started our today's video. And one small announcement that this monetary policy will be covered in 2 parts. The first part, that is today's video, will come on Wednesday or Thursday, and the second part will come on Friday. So let's start our today's video. The topics to be discussed today has been presented on your screen. So let's first discuss, before understanding the main theme, we need to understand some basic concept like balance sheet of a bank. Any bank balance sheet consists of 2 things, that is called assets and liabilities. So what is assets of a bank? Assets are something which a bank assets are something which a bank owns or will get in future. Suppose loan is one type of assets, because customer has to pay back this money with interest, so it is a credit for bank. So loan is one type of assets for bank. Again, investment is one type of assets, because when banks lend money to the investor will also pay this money. Investor will also pay this money with interest to the bank, so it's a credit for bank. So investment is also one type of assets. And you come across NPAs, that is popularly known as non-performing assets. This is a bad asset. This is also assets for bank, but this is a bad assets because banks are not able to recover those assets. We will discuss in another video about NPA. So what is liability? Liabilities of a bank is which a bank owes or will debit in future. Suppose when you deposited some amount of money in your current accounts and saving account, banks are liable to pay back this money when you demand it. So it is a liabilities for bank. Demand deposit, time deposit, fixed deposit, these are all kind of liabilities. But there is 2 different types of liabilities are there. One is called demand liabilities and other one is called time liabilities. So what is demand liabilities? Demand liabilities are the liabilities which are payable on demand. Suppose you open an current account in your local SBI branch and you deposited 10,000 rupees and you want to buy something, so you can take out this entire amount. So when you anytime anywhere using your card, using your ATM, so bank are liable to pay the amount to you when you demand it. That's why they are called demand deposit. Example, current account, savings account, these are all type of demand deposit. So what is time liabilities? Time liabilities are something which are payable on time after completion of a certain period. When you deposited 50,000 rupees for a fixed deposit of 3 years, bank are liable to pay this money after completion of this 3-year term, not one day before, even 1 day before of completion of your term. So they are only liable to pay back this money after a completion of your certain period of term. So that's why they are called time liabilities. And even if you take out this entire amount, bank will deduct some amount as penalty, so it's ultimately loss for you. Fixed deposit, recurring deposit, term deposit, these are all kind of time liabilities. And there is one prominent term that is called NDTL, net time and demand liabilities. Net time and demand liabilities is just like, suppose a bank has 100 rupees as time liabilities and 50 rupees as demand liabilities, vice versa can also be possible. So the net time and demand liabilities will be the difference between the demand deposit and time deposit. Vice versa can also be possible, time deposit minus demand deposit. So it's just a difference between the two. I am just giving you a brief idea about NDTL because when we discuss about SLR and CRR, we'll come across this term in detail. That's why I'm giving you a brief idea. So now I'll show you the balance sheet of a Reserve Bank. This is the balance sheet of a Reserve Bank. This is the all are assets of a Reserve Bank, and this all are liabilities of Reserve Bank, and the total assets must be equal to total liabilities. Otherwise, bank will go through NPA crisis, that is non-performing assets. They are unable to recover those assets. So assets must be equal to liabilities. In 2019 prelims, UPSC had asked one questions from this particular portion, that is, which of the following is not included? Which of the following is not included in the assets of a commercial bank? First option is advances. Advances is one type of loan, so it's a credit for bank, so it's a not assets, it's a assets for bank, so it's a wrong option. It's a assets. Advances is assets for bank, it's wrong option. Deposits are liabilities of bank. As I have told you, bank are liable to pay back this money to the customer, so here the right option is deposit. Again, investment is assets for bank, because investor will pay back this money with interest, so this is also wrong. And money at call and short notice, this is the money for interbank transaction, when bank borrows money from other bank other than RBI, so this money is called money at call and short notice. This is again assets for a bank. This is again assets for a bank, so this is the wrong option. The correct option here is deposit. So you need to understand the basic concept very clearly, because in past 2 years, 2019 and 2020 prelims, UPSC is not only checking the current affairs, but they are also asking very simple and basic question of core subject, that is it is a core of economy or banking system. So you need to know this basic concept. Without knowing this, there is a problem for you, because UPSC nowadays are checking conceptual concept very much. So let's move to the next portion, that is, what is money supply? Simply put, money supply is the money in circulation. Money, what I mean by money in circulation? Money in circulation means currency with public plus demand deposit, time deposit, or cash with bank. They are called money supply. But CRR, SLR are not counted as money supply, because they are reserve money. We will discuss later about CRR, SLR. But apart from CRR and SLR, currency with public, demand deposit, time deposit, cash with bank, other than CRR and SLR, are counted as money supply. So let's discuss. In the first case, we are assuming there are 3 banks, SBI, HDFC and Axis Bank. In all 3 banks there are no money, 0, 0, 0, and this person has 5,000 rupees in his hand. So total money supply will be demand deposit with bank is 0, because the total balance of bank 0, and currency with public, this is 5,000 rupees, so 0 plus 5,000 is 5,000. So money supply is 5,000 in the first case. But if the person deposits this particular money, 1,000 rupees in SBI and 5,000 rupees in HDFC Bank and 500 rupees in Axis Bank, in this case, bank SBI 1,000 rupees, HDFC 500, Axis Bank 500 rupees. So this person has now 3,000 rupees. So in this case, money supply will be money supply demand deposit with bank 2,000, 100 plus 500 plus 500, that is 2,000, and currency with public, that is 3,000. Again money supply is 5,000. This is the immediate effect. This is the immediate effect of money supply, not long term effect. I am not talking about long term effect, I am talking about immediate effect. In this particular concept, in 2020 prelims, which was held in October 4th, UPSC had asked this particular questions. If you withdraw 1,000 rupee, 1 lakh in cash from your bank demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect here is the emphasis on immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy will be to reduce by 1 lakh. This is wrong. To increase by 1 lakh, this is also wrong. To increase by more than 1 lakh, this is also wrong. The correct option here is to leave it unchanged, because money supply, as I have told you, demand deposit plus currency with public. In the first case, when you deposited 1 lakh, so in the first case, demand deposit will be 1 lakh and currency with public 0. In the question, they are talking about you withdraw your money from demand deposit, so demand deposit will be 0 and currency with public now will be 1 lakh. So again the money supply will be 1 lakh. So there is no change in money supply, it will remain unchanged. So this is the immediate effect on aggregate money supply. There may be any long term effect which we will discuss in money multiplier, but there is no immediate effect on money supply. So there is no change in money supply. To leave it unchanged, option D is correct. Now let's move to the monetary policy. So what is monetary policy? Monetary policy is simply means the control of money supply, controls of money supply in the economy. And who formulates monetary policy? Reserve Bank of India, that is the central bank of our country, formulate monetary policy. Before 2015, it was particularly, before 2015, monetary policy rate were particularly decided from the governor desk. But after 2015, when government and RBI came up with monetary policy committee in 2015, then after creation of monetary policy committee is the final authority to decide about monetary policy rate like CRR, SLR, repo, reverse repo, etc. Now monetary policies consist of a 6 member. 3 are from RBI sides and 3 are from central government sides. 6 member, 3 are from RBI and 3 are from central government side. And monetary policy committee was set up on the recommendation of Urjit Patel committee. Urjit Patel was governor of the ex-governor of the Reserve Bank of India. So monetary policy committee was set up under Urjit Patel recommendation committee. And monetary policy is a statutory body. This is very important because monetary policy was set up under RBI Act of 1934. That's why monetary policy is a statutory body. UPSC may confuse you that monetary policy is not a statutory body, but monetary policy was set up under RBI Act, so it has a statutory, it has a legislation backing, so it must be a statutory body. You should careful while dealing with such statement. 3 from RBI and 3 from government side. Now with the creation of monetary policy committee, RBI and governor also came up with monetary policy framework agreement in 2018, monetary policy framework agreement in 2015. And what is the purpose of this monetary policy framework agreement? Its main purpose is that it mandated that RBI has to maintain the inflation rate with 4 plus minus 2% band. So RBI has to maintain inflation between 2 to 6%. So this monetary policy framework agreement mandated RBI to maintain inflation between 2 to 6%. This is the main purpose of monetary policy framework agreement. Now most of us have an account in some or the other bank. Someone has account in SBI, someone account in HDFC Bank, and someone is account in any bank. So in the same fashion, all the banks in our country has to maintain account with RBI, and when we open an account in any bank, there are certain terms and conditions, like that you have to keep this much deposits at minimum balance, this and that. In the same fashion, RBI also prescribes certain terms and conditions that bank has to fulfill. This terms and condition is CRR and SLR, that is the reserve money. Just like for our case, this is the minimum balance. So what is CRR? Suppose CRR is the amount, amount of deposit that bank has to keep with RBI. Suppose one bank has 100 rupees as deposit and RBI prescribes 6% as CRR. So bank has to, the 60 rupees has to be kept with RBI, and bank will now only 940 rupees for lending. Bank will have now only 940 rupees for lending, and RBI does not pay any interest on this particular CRR. And this particular CRR, that is cash reserve ratio, is mandated under RBI Act of 1934, because this money has to be kept with RBI. So this money with RBI, deposit, no profit or interest, RBI Act of 1934. So now let us move to the SLR. SL and RRB, that is, it is calculated, CRR is calculated as a percentage of total demand and time liabilities, and regional rural bank don't have to maintain the CRR at all, because their main purpose to provide loan to the agriculture, productive sector, rural development, so they don't have to maintain CRR. Now what is SLR? SLR is same as CRR, but in this case SLR is the amount of deposits that bank has to keep with themselves in form of liquid assets. In form of liquid asset, in this case RBI particularly specified that you have to maintain as liquid assets like gold, cash, government securities. These all are liquid assets. Liquid assets are something which are easily convertible to cash. That's why they are called liquid assets. So in this case SLR is the amount of deposit that RBI has to keep, bank has to keep with themselves as a percentage, as in the form of liquid asset like gold, cash, government securities, etc. And bank earns some profit on that particular SLR, and it is mandated under Banking Regulation Act of 1949 for the obvious reason that it is the reserve money that bank has to keep with themselves, not with RBI. So you should be very careful while dealing with it is mandated under RBI Act or Banking Regulation Act, but because UPSC may confuse you at times, so you should be very careful about that. Now let's move to the next portion, that is how CRR and SLR and inflation are related. Suppose that RBI increases the CRR or SLR value. If RBI increases CRR and SLR value, that means that money for lending available to the bank will be less. Money for lending will be available to bank will be less, because bank has to maintain a high reserve. So bank will automatically increase the interest rate, because if banks are having less money, they will automatically increase the interest rate, because they has to maintain the profit margin also. And if the interest rate increases, customer will borrow less money, and if customer will borrow less money, this means the money supply in our economy will go down. And if money supply in our economy will go down, this means the purchasing power of the people will also go down, which implies demand for goods and services will also go down. And this condition is called as deflationary condition. RBI will able to control the inflation rate, and this type of monetary policy is called as tight monetary policy. This type of monetary policy is called tight monetary policy. RBI wants to suck the excess liquidity, that's why they are increasing CRR and SLR. And if RBI decreases the SLR or CRR value, then the money for lending for the available to bank will be higher, because bank now have to maintain a less number, bank have to maintain a low reserve. So money for lending will be higher, so bank will decrease the interest rate, and if interest rate decreases, people will borrow more money from bank, and money supply in the economy will also increases. And if the money supply in the economy will increases, the purchasing power of the people will also increase, which in turn increase the demands for goods and services. And if demands for goods and services increase, this is called inflationary condition, and this particular monetary policy is called expansionary monetary policy of RBI. In 2020 prelims, UPSC had asked this particular concept, expansionary monetary policy. We will discuss it. So it is called expansionary monetary policy. Now let us discuss about what is repo rate. when bank borrows short-term fund, when bank borrows short-term fund from RBI with government securities as collateral, government securities as collateral, suppose this is a government security, government securities is nothing but a paper and there is some value written on that particular paper, suppose 100 rupees, and bank will give this particular securities to RBI and RBI will give same amount of money to the bank, 100 rupees, and bank will promise RBI that they will buy this particular government security at a higher value, suppose 120 or 130 rupees in a future date. So this is the mechanism of repo, when bank borrows short-term fund from RBI as government securities as collateral, government securities as collateral. Here one important thing you should know, that the bank cannot sell their SLR securities, bank cannot sell their SLR security for short-term fund. Bank can only sell those securities which are above SLR quota. So bank cannot send their SLR security for short-term fund from RBI. Now what is reverse repo? When RBI borrows money short-term basis from bank with government securities as collateral, that is called reverse repo mechanism. Same mechanism RBI borrows from bank, that is called reverse repo mechanism. And when a bank borrows long-term fund from RBI without any government securities as collateral, this is called bank rate. When bank borrows short-term fund from RBI, this is repo rate. When RBI borrows short-term fund from bank, reverse repo. When bank borrows long-term fund without collateral, this is called bank rate. But there is a problem in reverse repo mechanism. When RBI wants to suck the excess liquidity, RBI has to give certain portion of securities, certain amount of securities to the bank to suck the excess liquidity. But if RBI has low number of security, it is problematic for RBI to give the securities to the bank. So to resolve this particular problem, RBI has came up with this particular scheme, that is called standing deposit facility. This is the scheme when RBI borrows money from the bank without giving any government securities, and this particular scheme was created on the recommendation of Urjit Patel Committee on Monetary Policy. 2013 proposed it, and budget 2018 granted this particular provision, that is standing deposit facility. RBI will not give any securities from when they borrow money from banks. And there is a particular concept is one market operation. When there is a excess liquidity, in the market and RBI wants to suck the excess liquidity, RBI will buy securities from the market. And when RBI wants to increase the liquidity in the market, RBI will sell the government securities. In the market. So this buying and selling of government securities by RBI is called open market operation. When RBI wants to suck liquidity, RBI will buy government security. When RBI wants to increase the liquidity, RBI will sell the government security. This buying and selling of government securities is called open market operation. And there is particular concept, there is one concept, marginal standing facility. Marginal standing facility is same like repo rate. Here bank can borrow under marginal standing facility from overnight funds from RBI, but there is a particular difference between repo and marginal standing facility. Here bank can borrow in marginal standing facility, bank in reverse repo mechanism, bank can borrow with approved government securities when approved government securities as collateral which are above SLR quota. But in this MSF, that is marginal standing facility, bank can borrow fund from RBI on short term basis with their SLR quota. 1% of they can use their 1% SLR quota securities to buy this excess quota. Suppose there is 70% SLR bank has to maintain, and they can use 1% of their SLR government securities, 1% quota of their SLR government securities to borrow this particular fund under MSF, that is marginal standing facility. This is the difference between MSF and reversible. In 2020 prelims, UPSC had asked this particular question regarding marginal standing facility. If RBI decides to adopt an expansionist monetary policy, which I have told you already, expansionary monetary policy, here the word is expansionist, same meaning. Expansionary monetary policy, which of the following would it not do? Cut and optimize the statutory liquidity. If RBI cut the statutory liquidity ratio, that means RBI will follow expansionary monetary policy. But here the question is not do. So to follow expansionary monetary policy, RBI will cut and optimize statutory. So first statement is wrong. Increase the marginal standing facility. If RBI increases marginal standing facility, it will become tight monetary policy. So to adopt an expansion in monetary policy, RBI will not do marginal increase in marginal standing facility. So second statement is right. And third statement, cut the bank and repo rate. Again, if RBI wants to increase the liquidity, RBI will cut bank rate or repo rate. So RBI will do it. RBI, but the question says which of the following would not do. So this statement is also wrong. So here correct option is 2. So this question was asked in 2020 prelims. So that's it for today. In our next video, we will discuss about the structure of RBI and monetary policy transmission like bank base rate, PLR, MCLR, external benchmarking, etc. And next video will come on Friday. Till then, stay happy, stay healthy and keep studying. Thank you so much for watching my video.